This is a church. From the time I was born until the time I graduated high school, I went to church every Sunday, but the only reason I went was because my parents made me go.
Tom, it's time to get up and go to church.
I didn't hate Jesus or anything, I just wasn't interested in him. The only Christians I knew were either old or just weird and different from me. I didn't want to be old or weird, so I always just shied away from all of the Christian stuff. This is the University of Central Arkansas. In the fall of 2009, I came to UCA to play soccer. I had always dreamed of playing Division I soccer, and I was finally living that dream. However, something else caught my attention. 2 or 3 times a week, a man would come to our practices, and I would hear him talk about a certain D group. One day, we were on the bus, and one of my teammates asked me why I never came to it. I told him I didn't know anything about it, and he said, "Well, you should come check it out." So a few days rolled by, and I went to the D group. When I first walked in, I saw several of my teammates there. Just by the way they were laughing and talking with each other, I could tell there was something different about these guys. I didn't know what it was, but I wanted in on it. The man who had been coming to practice and talking about D group was there. He prayed for us, then asked each of us to mention where we stood with God at that moment. After listening to some of my teammates talk about how they were trying to live their lives for God, I saw that Jesus wasn't only for old people or weird people. I learned that he wasn't just a guy with a bunch of rules that I couldn't live up to, but that he actually just wanted me to know who he was. So when it was my turn to talk, I said, honestly, I know of God, I know his name, and I've heard a whole lot about him, but I don't really know him. However, I think I'd like to meet him and hang out sometime. By the time the next guy started talking, I was thinking about reading the Bible when I got back to my dorm. This was really weird for me because I had never wanted to read the Bible before. It was always really boring or confusing to me. But it was as if God said, "All right, if you'd like to meet me and hang out with me, then read the Word and you'll get to know who I am." Now imagine that you were lied to your whole life. Everyone told you you couldn't eat anything except for green beans, every meal, every day, and since that's all you've heard your whole life, of course you're going to believe that it's true. And then one day, someone tells you the truth. You can eat whatever you want, whenever you want. Imagine how that would change your life. You'd be eating everything in sight. Well, I feel like I was lied to my whole life about being a Christian. Until I was 19, I thought that a life of following Jesus would be incredibly boring. When I went to that first D group, it was like someone told me the truth for the very first time. My perspective on God, Christians, and life was completely changed. My whole life didn't change on that one day, but that day was the beginning of my life being made new. Since then, I have been able to see and experience how much God truly loves me. Even though I continue to screw up time and time again, he's not ashamed of me, and I'm confident that no matter how bad life might get, he's always going to be with me. Romans chapter 5, verse 7 and 8 says, "Very rarely will anyone die for a righteous man, though for a good man, someone might possibly dare to die. But God demonstrates his own love for us in this: while we were still sinners, Christ died for us." This verse makes me think of the scene from Shawshank Redemption when Andy escapes from the prison. Jesus chose to leave heaven and come down to this nasty, sin-filled planet. I picture Jesus walking on earth in the same way that Andy crawls through the sewage pipes. Except the only difference is that Andy did it for himself. Jesus did it for everyone but himself. Here's the thing. God doesn't care what we've done in the past. and He doesn't want us to try and make ourselves look pretty for Him. He just wants us to know Him and know that He loves us. And the most important thing to me is to help others know the love that God has for them.